Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging deep into the physical world behind AI. Yeah, forget the cloud for a second. We're talking about actual concrete, tons of steel, and an unbelievable amount of power. You see, this is the story of a brand new digital gold rush. Okay, get this. $7 trillion. Let that sink in for a second. That is the insane figure McKinsey thinks we could be pouring into building the physical backbone for AI. And no, we're not just talking about clever code or algorithms here. This is a real-world construction boom. I mean, on a scale that's kind of hard to even wrap your head around. It's a modern gold rush, all for the digital infrastructure that, powers the AI that you and I use every single day. So for years, right, spending on building data centers was pretty steady. I mean, it was growing, sure, but it was predictable. And then, bam, November 2022, ChatGPT goes live, and that spending just goes vertical. It absolutely skyrockets. And that was no coincidence, let me tell you. That was the starting gun, the shot that kicked off this frantic, wild race to build the actual physical homes for the entire AI revolution. All right, so what does it actually take to build this whole new digital frontier? Well, just like any old school gold rush, it's never just about the gold, is it? It's about the picks, the shovels, and the boom towns that have to spring up to support the whole operation. And this quote, man, it just perfectly captures the feeling on the ground right now. You have these industry insiders, and they genuinely see themselves as pioneers. They're heading out into totally uncharted territory. They're building the digital version of those boom towns. And honestly, they're kind of figuring it all out as they go. It's this incredible, high-stakes journey into the great unknown. Now, to really get what's happening, you've got to understand something called the AI hardware stack. It's so important because it reminds you that AI isn't just magic. It's a physical thing. It literally starts with the microscopic logic etched onto a silicon chip, and then it stacks all the way up to the giant warehouse-sized building that holds everything. And every single layer of that stack is absolutely critical. So, if we're sticking with our gold rush analogy, what's the essential pickaxe? Well, it's this thing, the graphics processing unit, or GPU for short. These are super specialized chips, and they are just brilliant at the kind of math AI needs to do. And here's the kicker. Right now, one company, NVIDIA, basically has a monopoly on the most powerful ones, like this H100. Getting your hands on these, that's everything. But this crazy dependency on one type of tool creates a super fragile supply chain. Think about it. There are 3 major choke points. First, only a handful of companies, like NVIDIA, can even design these complex chips. Then, an even smaller group, dominated by Taiwan's TSMC, has the know-how and the multi-billion-dollar factories to actually make them. And after the final assembly and packaging, it's done. A single hiccup, anywhere in that chain, and the whole AI industry could just grind to a halt. Okay, so you've got all this incredible, specialized hardware, the GPUs, all the memory, the networking stuff. It all has to go somewhere. It needs a home. And this is it. This is where it all lives. These are the new boom towns. Massive, sprawling data centers with endless halls just filled with humming servers. And they are popping up all over the world to house this digital gold rush. But, and this is a huge but, there's a problem. Every single gold rush in history eventually smacks up against a resource limit. For the Californian gold rush, it was a lack of water. For today's AI gold rush, that hard limit, it's electricity. And when you look at the numbers, they're alarming. Right now, the thirst for power from all these data centers is just massively outstripping what our electrical grids can even give them. Just in the US, we're looking at a shortfall of over 10 gigawatts. I mean, that's enough juice to power millions of homes. And let's be clear, this isn't some problem for the future. This is happening right now. So what happens when you build this incredible multi-billion-dollar facility and you just can't get the power you need? Well, an industry survey lays out the pretty stark reality. For most companies, we're talking 62%, the answer is the most painful one you can imagine. You just have to delay the grand opening. And for others, they're forced to cancel their projects altogether. Just gone. Now, you might be thinking, well, why don't they just build their own power plants on site? And yeah, it sounds like a good fix, but it is unbelievably complex. I mean, think about it. You're a data center operator. Suddenly you're supposed to manage a power microgrid or maybe even a small nuclear reactor. That's a totally different skill set. It's a massive, high-risk gamble that, frankly, most of these companies are just not equipped to take on. This whole power crunch has kicked off this desperate scramble for solutions. We're seeing everything from covering data center roofs with solar panels to developing entirely new strategies for the power grid. It's fascinating, really. These tech companies are being forced to become energy companies, whether they like it or not. And that's why energy has become the central conflict in the story of the AI gold rush. All right, so this huge construction boom, this crazy scramble for energy, you know what that requires? An equally massive pile of money. And all that cash flying around has turned the entire data center industry into one giant, high-stakes financial gamble. And believe me, the money is pouring in. You've got private equity firms making these just enormous bets. I mean, look at Blackstone. They paid nearly $15 billion to buy a data center firm called AirTrunk. And that's just one example of these blockbuster deals happening as investors race to get a piece of this critical digital real estate. I mean, if you really want to see how hot this market is, all you got to do is follow the money. It's not just the usual banks anymore. Now you've got this whole complex web of financing that includes private credit and even hedge funds. And they're all jumping into the game, offering to lend more money and take on way more risk, all for the chance at a much bigger payday. But all of this frantic money slinging has some real industry veterans getting nervous. And when the chairman of a giant like Alibaba, Joe Tsai, says he's worried about a bubble, people listen. He's seeing people build these massive data centers on spec. That means without any customers lined up yet. And to him, that's a red flag. That's the beginning of a bubble. So, okay, we've got all these massive challenges, right? Power shortages, risky financing, fragile supply chains. So what's the end game here? Are we heading for a spectacular bust, or can innovation actually engineer a way through all this mess? Well, one of the biggest engineering puzzles to solve is just heat. A single rack of these high-powered AI servers can pull down 250 kilowatts of power. Your old-school blow-cold air approach, it just can't keep up. No way. So the whole industry is shifting fast to these incredible advanced solutions, like direct liquid-to-chip cooling. They're literally piping liquid right to the processor to suck the heat away. It's a total, fundamental redesign of how we do things. And that innovation, it goes all the way down to the building materials themselves. You know, traditional concrete produces a ton of CO2. So now, builders are turning to what they call green concrete. It's pretty cool, actually. It uses industrial waste products, stuff like fly ash from power plants or slag from making steel. It's a clever way to cut down on that carbon footprint and build a more circular, sustainable economy. So you see, the path forward here isn't about finding one single silver bullet. It's about relentless, constant innovation across that entire hardware stack we talked about. It means everything from designing more efficient chips, maybe finally breaking that NVIDIA monopoly, to writing smarter AI code that just doesn't need as much computational muscle. And of course, integrating all of these new ideas for sustainable infrastructure. And all of this, it really brings us to one final critical question. Are we building the AI equivalent of a robust, sustainable utility, like the power grid or the water system, something that will power our future for generations to come? Or is all of this just a brilliant, world-changing prototype that's ultimately built on a foundation that's just too brittle to last? The answer to that question, well, that's going to define the entire next chapter of technology.